What's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Week 2 battle for the PTL, or the Pokemon Tri-League. This week we are taking on Ultraplayer, or Josh, and the West Virginia Miniors. Ultraplayer is another big name that we're playing on, also another replacement coach, 2 weeks in a row. That our original opponent has been replaced and replaced with someone who is a large YouTuber, in my mind at least. I recognize him from the NPA. He's in Kelly or Under the Radar's front office, I believe. I'm in Moonlight Swami's front office, so I've seen him in the NPA server before and interacted there potentially. Although we've been having a lot of fun in DMs. He's a really nice dude, and a big props to him. I'm linking his channel in the description 100%. I'm definitely gonna do that for every team this season, just like I did for Monatubi in week 1. If you guys haven't checked out that battle, you should probably go check that out, because that's a pretty epic battle. Obviously, you're probably spoiled by now, since you can see our record, and you can see that it's week 2, so obviously we did beat Monatubi 1-0, and we'll be looking to pick up a win off of Ultraplayer this week as well. So, going over his team, he has Celesteela, Necrozma, Mega Manectric, Zygarde 10%, Primarina, Umbreon, Serena, Blaziken, which is a Z user, Skuntank, which is a Z user, Rhydon, and Porygon-Z, which is a Z user. PZ and Blaziken and Rhydon are all new additions to the team. I can't exactly remember what he dropped for them as a replacement coach. Let me actually verify that really quickly here. He dropped Moltres, Hariyama, and Gastrodon for those. I was definitely a lot more scared of his team after those drops, because I think if he didn't make any drops, I had this matchup in the bag. But Blaziken and PZ put on a lot of pressure against my team, and where I was able to deal with Mega Manectric before, I'm less able to deal with Mega Manectric because there's other offensive threats that I have to deal with on the team now. I wasn't expecting Serena or Rhydon, and neither of them came, so this is basically what I was expecting. I'm a little bit shocked to not see the Primarina. And Umbreon kind of makes sense, but at the same time doesn't to me, because he didn't bring Skuntank either, so he doesn't have any switch into a Psychic from Mega Latios. It's a very free click for me to just click Psychic, and I'm really glad that I brought Psychic over the Ice Beam, because Psychic is still doing a lot of damage to the Zygarde 10, and he didn't bring the Serena or the Rhydon anyways, so I didn't need Ice Beam, it turns out. In terms of priority options, he brought Zydog with potential Extreme Speed and Blaziken with potential Vacuum Wave. Hazard setting, Necrozma is 100% his Stealth Rocker if he's bringing rocks this game. Removal options, Blaziken is his only removal option, so that sort of lets me realize that I can just get up rocks against him. And I didn't bring any removal either, which we'll talk about in a second. And he brought his 4x weakness to ice in the Zydogo, and I didn't bring any ice coverage. I'm not actually packing any ice coverage on my team whatsoever, because my neutral attacks are enough to work with that, because Zydogo is extremely frail. So if you haven't seen my team builder, I encourage you to check that out. I do go quite in depth with everything that I'm bringing, all the sets and what they're meant for. We're a fully Spidef Registeel with Sleep Talk, Rest, Seismic Toss, and Stealth Rocks. Fully physically defensive, a Violite Tangela with Giga Drain, Toxic, Sub, and Leech Seed. So we're Sub Seed Tangela. I'm actually running... No, I'm not running any speed actually, because I might be running a little bit to outrun No Speed Primarina. I can't exactly remember. Rotom-Heat has Hidden Power Water for the Blaziken, Volt Switch, Overheat, and Pain Split. Mega Latios is 2 attacks with Roost and Toxic, and its Psychic and Thunderbolt are the 2 attacks. Thunderbolt is there for the Celesteela, of course. Bienshao is a really neat set. It's a sub-toxic knockoff and Drain Punch set with leftovers, and then I'm a Z-Splash Cleaner Mimikyu with Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, and Play Rough. Shadow Claw, the only reason I even have Shadow Claw on there is to deal with Necrozma late game if I have to, just because I know Shadow Sneak isn't going to do enough and Play Rough isn't going to do as much as Shadow Claw is. That's the only reason that I even have Shadow Claw on this set at all. There's no other reason for me to run Shadow Claw against this team. Because my Mimikyu needs to... Drain Punch would have been a nice change there, actually. instead of the Shadow Claw. So, anyways, going into the game, I definitely saw and I was like, okay, Blaziken's his only remover, so I'm just going to lead with my rocks because they're going to be a really good chip against his team. He's going to have to keep switching things in, and they're all going to get chipped down by the rocks, which is really good. He does only have the one resistance Zygarde 10. I think I talked about this in the team builder as well, that Zygarde 10 and Rhydon were his only Stealth Rock resists, so despite him not having a Stealth Rock weakness, it's just really good chip against his team, really good neutral chip, 12% every time. So I'm going to lead with Registeel, as he's actually going to lead Mega Manectric, which is probably good for me, that he's getting off his Intimidate here now and Volt Switching. We see that he's modest based on that roll. It was actually 21.4 and 21.3 is the max Timid roll, so I kind of figured out that he was modest there. It didn't matter because he could easily run modest against me. My fastest thing is Mega Latios, so there's no reason for him not to run modest against me. But just to note, that's a mid-roll for Modest. And I'm just going to get my rocks as Zygarde comes in. Tangle is my hard switch in every single time. Seemed like a very easy play for me. As he shows off Sub, so I'm like, okay, I'm scared of like Sub Coil maybe, but at the same time I'm not really. And then he shows off Toxic as I go for my own Sub, so I really wasn't expecting the Toxic there. I was expecting a Coiler or a Dragon Dance or something. Toxic was a really good bring to break down Tangela, because otherwise he just can't with Zygarde. It actually just cannot beat Tangela whatsoever, and Giga Drain is, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me because Giga Drain is always breaking his sub. So despite him getting some lefties back here, and the 1,000 Arrows not breaking my sub either, Giga Drain's going to break his. I decided I'm just going to stay in here, and I'm just going to Giga Drain again in case he subs again. He just goes into Celesteela. So I'm fine with a little bit of chip damage. Doesn't really end up mattering, I don't think, all too much because of leftovers. But I can get a leech seed off here, and I can stay behind my sub. I don't want to get like switch out with my sub still up, you know. Tangler's obviously taking the beating now, but Regenerator is going to get a lot of HP back, and Registeel kind of walls this thing as he goes right back into Mega Manectric. So ideal-ish for my Registeel, and he's taking some Rocks chip on the Manectric now, which is good. He's going to Volt Switch again into the Celesteela, and this time I'm going to Seismic Toss. I'm assuming he was Volt Switching to Celesteela, scouting for the Earthquake. That would be the best scenario for him, I think. Turns out Seismic Toss is not even a 4-hit KO because it's only doing 25%, which really sucks that it's doing that much, but it means that he's fairly defensive Celesteela and not an offensive variant, which is a little bit better for me. Excuse me. I'm just going to go for it again as he Leech Seeds me. Probably a bad play, because he's getting some health back now, and he's only 5% lower than he was before. He's going to make a Protect play on my Rotom-Heat, and now I'm going to Overheat, I think, because it's my best play to beat the Celesteela. Volt Switch wasn't killing it, and if he went into Zygarde, it was bad, so now he makes a really good read and goes into Zygarde on my Volt Switch. Overheat would have actually probably been okay against the Zygarde anyways, because then he would have to sub on the Tangle again, and he ends up subbing on the Tangle anyways. Giga Drain's going to pop this thing, though, which is nice. Shows off the Protect, so he's like a toxic stalling Zygarde with that. And I guess it makes a lot of sense, actually, because 1,000 Arrows can still beat the Registeel. That crit just did 13 in my Tangle, by the way. That's how worthless 1,000 Arrows is against this Mon. This Mon is just amazing. He's going to sub again. I'm just going to keep breaking his sub, and honestly, I'm just going to keep going for that until I die at this point. Except I couldn't take the toxic damage there, though. So I was definitely... I made that play predicting his Protect to stall me out of health, because I wasn't living the next toxic turn. And I made the hard double into Mega Latios here. He has to be running a lot of speed investment to outrun my Mega Latios, because I'm speed creeping over the Porygon-Z, and I'm imagining he's got some HP, like a lot of HP investment, given the fact that he's sub leftovers. It would make sense to me that he maybe wants to be a little bit bulkier. And we do see that he is actually very speedy over the fact that he gets his sub off on my Mega Lati here. Psychic's going to break it. Psychic's actually going to kill this thing, and he's just going to get a Toxic off before he dies. This will matter later. It's going to start racking up the damage. In comes the Necrozma. I'm okay with this, because I can get a Toxic up on it myself, and he's going to Moonlight, which I thought was a very interesting play. I'm just going to go into Tangela. I figure I can go into Tangela, get a Leech Seed off, and he's dying to Toxic eventually anyways. Unfortunately, Tangela just dies to a Photon Geyser, which I didn't even calc, so that's my own bad. I could have gone like Mienshao, maybe Toxic stalled him a little bit there, but instead I opted to go Tangela, and it ended up not mattering too much. But His Necrozma's chipped quite a bit, so Registeel can come in here. It's definitely going to like wall this thing. Celesteela comes back in. Just going to Seismic Toss, obviously. And he's recovered enough where he's living another Seismic Toss, so he can get a Leech Seed off on me. And then he's living Leech Seed plus leftovers. And then after another Leech Seed with the Protect, he's going to get all of his HP back. So he makes a really good play by double Leech Seeding there. He could have actually just died, but he predicted my switch based on me thinking that he was going to protect there. I can freely Volt Switch now that Zygarde's dead, so I'm actually just going to go for that, I think. Unless I overheat here. No, I think I just Volt Switch on the Mega Manectric coming in. I do, yeah. So we get some more good chip on the Mega Manectric, which is really good because it's such a huge threat to my team. Registeel eats an overheat from this range, so I'm just going to Seismic Toss again as he's going to Volt Switch into the Celesteela. Rock's putting the Celesteela in a range of 2 Seismic Tosses now. Even if he protects this turn, he can't live another one because he'll be at 24%. And so Registeel's going to be able to pick off the kill on the Celesteela here. He's going to get the Leech Seed off on me, which is really annoying because it means that he can bring in Manectric here and get some recovery off, which is pretty bad for me, honestly, because I need Manectric low for Mimikyu to sweep, essentially. So I'm actually just going to rest, which is probably a dumb play because it ended up giving him a lot more, many more turns of recovery. I thought that if I rested and got some Seismic Toss turns on the Sleep Talks, then it would be fine, but I actually get Rocks and then I get Rest on the next one. And the Mega Manectric is going to kill me and be really healthy. He's going to be back up at like 90%, which is no bueno for the Registeel. I'm going to die to this Thunderbolt here, and he's going, it's going to force me essentially to go into my Mega Latios now. I can get a big Psychic off here. Volt Switch is doing some damage, and I'm taking toxic damage too. I get a big Psychic off into the Necrozma. Shows to be like kind of sped F, but not really. And then Thunderbolt's just going to be able to pick it off. So glad I had the Thunderbolt on there, a way to hit the Necrozma at least. Otherwise, it could have just Moonlighted up on me. And that's why I actually didn't click Roost this turn, because I was scared Necrozma was going to Moonlight on me. And that was really his last wall. The last 3 things he has are all really offensive. I'm fairly low now. I know HP Ice isn't killing me, so Mega Manectric, I was predicting it to probably Volt Switch, and he actually has the Signal Beam, which sucks. Something would have had to take a Psychic there otherwise. I'm going to bring in Rotom-Heat. This seems like a fairly free Overheat, but he's actually got Hidden Power Water, so this thing has all the coverage for my team, and it basically forces me to go Mienshao now, because Mimikyu is still my late game win con, and I've just sacked 2 things to this thing for nothing, for free essentially. I'm just going to click Drain Punch. Knowing that I can't really sub on any move that he wants to go for. So I'm just going to Drain Punch here on the Blaziken, and then another Drain Punch will easily take this thing out. We see the crit, but it doesn't matter. I was scared if he was Scarf Blaziken, then my Mienshao was dying for sure right there, but he ended up not being. Mega Manectric's going to come out, cycle that Intimidate on me. Thunderbolt still shouldn't kill me from this range, it's a roll, and he actually does not get a roll there, and I get some yummy damage with the Drain Punch. I'm just going to let my Mienshao die here to the Volt Switch, actually, which I thought was probably an alright play, because now he gets to cycle in another Intimidate on my Mimikyu for sure. And at this point, I'm sort of like weighing my options. So if he ends up being Scarf PZ, then setting up is my best play here, because he can't kill me with a Shadow Ball after he breaks my Disguise, and I kill him with a player off back, and Manectric is at, will it show it for you guys? Manectric's pretty low. It's low enough essentially that at +2 after my Z-Splash, if he intimidates me at +2, Shadow Sneak is killing it from this range, so my play was to click the Z-Splash and hope for the best. So I'm actually going to do that as he locks himself in a Trick, and I'm a Z-Crystal, so it's a wasted turn for him, and it means I get a free hit off, which essentially clinches me the game here. Except for the fact that I missed the play rough right there. It didn't matter. The crit didn't matter on the Shadow Sneak either, by the way. I was a +2 Mimikyu. In comes the PZ. He has to break my Disguise twice, so he'd do it. And again, it was a roll if he was modest, so I got 2 shots at hitting this play rough, and I do hit it the first time. So we pick up the 1-0 victory over Ultraplayer and the West Virginia Miniors. Really well played game, came down to the wire. I think overall my prep was alright. Rotom-Heat definitely could have been a little bit better. I mean, it was my main Blaziken answer, and Blaziken ended up just like not getting a hit off, and Rotom-Heat kind of just like sat in and did nothing the entire game. I think it Volt Switched on Mega Manectric maybe once, I didn't get the Pain Split off like I wanted to later because he had Hidden Power Water. Um, Megalodios, I think Megalodios did a lot for me this game, picking up another 2 kills, which is really solid. Mienshao, the set could have worked potentially. That Mienshao set was a lot better against Moltres, and if he brought Umbreon, it was a lot better as well because I got to set up a free sub on the Umbreon every single time, which then would bypass the Mega Manectric Intimidate if he somehow didn't play around that very well. And then Drain Punch plus Toxic was just really good for the rest of his team because he couldn't deal with it super well. Tangela did its job, which was walling the Zygarde 10%, and Rhydon didn't come, so it didn't have to wall the Rhydon or the Serena. So Tangela, again, it did its job. It was pretty useless outside of doing its job, though. Registeel getting up Rock so early was really clutch. All of that chip damage racked up quickly and hard against his team. Yeah, Mimikyu was, in my mind, Mimikyu was definitely the MVP of this game. Despite missing the player off, it cleaned up just like it had to, and picking up 2 more kills for itself and moving itself up my all-time kill leaderboard. I think it's up to like 64 kills all-time with me, or 66 kills, something like that. Next week we take on Todd and the Washington Blizzards. He's got a pretty cool team, and I've already built for that, so I'm going to be recording my team builder while I have the chance. When we're about to play this game, it's going to be pretty hectic scheduling-wise, so I'm not going to be able to keep you guys updated on that or anything because we have scheduled uploads, but if you don't see my PTL matches, or if you don't see my PTL match next Friday, then you know what happened, is that I couldn't schedule with him, and we're going to have to play it that weekend. So, yeah, I guess that's going to be it for me, guys, and I'll catch you guys next week when we take on Todd and the Washington Blizzards.